The images accompanying this audio drama were created using generative AI and are not actual photos of the real people depicted. Any resemblance to real individuals is purely coincidental. Tru Foe walked with a confident swagger down the busy Chicago street, nodding in recognition to the various people he passed. He had grown up in these harsh streets, and they had shaped him into the man he was today. Turning down an alleyway, the sounds of the main street faded behind him. He approached a nondescript door at the end and knocked in a specific rhythmic pattern. The door opened, revealing a hidden bar filled with more hard-looking men, fellow members of his crew. They were the only family Tru Foe had ever known. "My brother, what's good?" one said, as Tru Foe greeted them with hand pounds and half hugs. Despite the rough exterior of these street soldiers, Tru Foe felt at home among them. His friends were waiting for him at a table in the back, the mood celebratory for his 24th birthday. His right-hand man, Slick, poured 2 shots, handing one to Tru Foe. "Happy born day, my brother," he said as they cheered and drank. Tru Foe smiled, comforted to be with his day ones on this special occasion. As more drinks were poured, his phone buzzed. Tru Foe declined the call. Business could wait. "Was that Keisha?" his friend James asked. "Tell her we said what's up." Tru Foe shook his head. "Nah, she meeting me at the restaurant." He finished his drink in one gulp, then told his boys, "Aight y'all, I'ma slide." Daps and pounds were exchanged as Tru Foe headed out. Tru Foe met his girlfriend Keisha at Hooters downtown. She kissed him on the cheek and placed a small gift bag on the table. "Happy birthday, babe," she said with an affectionate smile. "Good looking out," he replied, giving her a peck on the lips. He could be vulnerable around Keisha in a way he couldn't with most. She was his piece from the chaos of the streets. As they looked through the menu, Tru Foe noticed a familiar face a few booths away. It was a known member of a rival set, out with his wife and kids. They made brief eye contact, a subtle recognition of the situation before Tru Foe stood up. "Aye, yo, my guy, no static today," he said, walking over. "Just came to show love on my born day, you feel me?" The man silently nodded, not wanting any trouble in front of his family. Tru Foe headed to the bathroom, greeting a female friend on the way. They made small talk, Tru Foe keeping one eye on the rival's table. As soon as the rival's food arrived, he quickly paid the check and ushered his family out, not wanting to stay any longer given the circumstances. In the restroom, Tru Foe stood at the urinal, lost in thought. Something felt off. His street sense was tingling. He zipped up and quickly made his way back to the table. Bursting out the front entrance, the sun momentarily blinding him, a masked gunman appeared as if from nowhere, pistol drawn. Before Tru Foe could react, 2 bullets slammed into his back. Searing pain shot through his body as he stumbled forward. Adrenaline pumping, he turned to see the shooter advancing for the kill shot. Tru Foe willed himself to push through the pain. He charged forward and threw a wild punch, clocking the gunman in the jaw. 3 more deafening gunshots rang out. Tru Foe crumbled to the ground, shot in the leg and groin. The gunman stood over Tru Foe's crippled body, savoring his position of power. He aimed the gun, ready to finish the job, but Tru Foe desperately rolled away at the last second. The bullet missed, cracking the pavement. In the distance, police sirens wailed. The gunman fled the scene, hopping in a getaway car that pulled up. Tru Foe choked back waves of pain and anger at being so outmanned and vulnerable. Just then, Keisha came running over, tears in her eyes. She applied pressure to Tru Foe's wounds to slow the bleeding. Tru Foe looked up at her beautiful face, drawing strength from her presence. "Somebody call 911!" Keisha screamed, but help was already on the way. Tru Foe took her hand, still clinging to consciousness. This was just another day in Chicago. Tru Foe awoke in a bright hospital room, the steady beep of machines nearby. He attempted to sit up, but a shockwave of pain disabled him. A nurse entered, adjusting his IV drip. "Try not to move just yet. You're still recovering," she advised. A doctor came in, reviewing Tru Foe's chart. "You're very lucky to be alive," he remarked. "A few more centimeters and those bullets would have hit major arteries." Tru Foe almost laughed at the absurdity. Lucky wasn't a word he'd used to describe the ruthless game he was caught up in. A while later, Keisha entered with bloodshot eyes and 2 styrofoam cups of coffee. She had stayed by his side the whole night. "Baby, you gotta go home and get some rest," Tru Foe told her. Keisha shook her head. "I'm not leaving you." She broke down crying, the traumatic events catching up to her. "I thought I lost you," she choked out. "I ain't going nowhere," Tru Foe assured her. "It'll take more than that to stop me." Just then, Tru Foe's friend Kelly burst in, full of nervous energy. His wide eyes said it all. Word had gotten out on the streets about the shooting. Bro, what the hell happened? Everybody talking, want to know who did this, Kelly said. Tru Foe shook his head. He hadn't gotten a good look at the shooter's face. Kelly clenched his fist, anger surging through his veins. Don't worry, we gonna find out. This shit ain't sweet. He dapped up Tru Foe like a general leading his troops to battle. Once Kelly left, Tru Foe wasted no time calling him back once Keisha was out of earshot. Yo, it was Doughboy and his crew, Tru Foe said with absolute certainty. No question, handle that ASAP. Kelly didn't hesitate. Bet, it's done tonight. This shit ends now. Tru Foe knew his word was bond. By sunrise, Doughboy would be just another name in the obituaries. In the coming weeks, Tru Foe recovered at home but transitioned to a wheelchair, his legs not yet healed enough for walking. He now moved through life lowered to the ground, a cruel reminder of the assassination attempt. There was an unexpected knock at the door one day. Tru Foe cautiously answered it. In his world, a knock could be benign or ominous, but it was his mom and sister who rushed over to hug him tight, tears of relief in their eyes. "My baby, look at you," his mom cried. His sister cried. "We heard you got shot like 8 times. Tru Foe corrected her. "Nah, just 5. To him, it was just another brush with death, but he understood their concern. As they caught up, his mother took his hand, her eyes pleading. "Son, I know the streets are all you know, but after almost losing you, I realize you need to get out of Chicago." Tru Foe started to interject, but she continued, "For your own safety, please, move away from here and start fresh." Tru Foe was conflicted. The gang was his family too. But seeing the pain in his mother's eyes, he couldn't simply dismiss her wishes. A few weeks later, Tru Foe attended the funeral of his close friend Greg Tucker, an innocent killed as collateral damage in the endless wars over turf and revenge. Greg's girlfriend glared at Tru Foe, holding him partly responsible. As Tru Foe wheeled himself through the rows of graves, he came across a fresh plot with a photo of Doughboy. But seeing his enemy laid to rest brought no revengeful satisfaction. Only sadness and futility at the never-ending cycle of violence that had claimed so many. Tru Foe realized his mother was right. He had to break free. Back at home, Tru Foe packed a bag and took one last look around, thinking of his mother's plea. His allegiance to the streets clashed with his devotion to his family, but family had to come first. Tru Foe rode the Greyhound bus out of the city, watching the Chicago lights fade into the distance until only darkness filled the window. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew it was time to leave. Closing his eyes as the bus accelerated onward, Tru Foe hoped for a fresh start and a second chance at life come sunrise.